right, man. Take
Perfect.
it away. I'll be in the background if you need anything.
Awesome. Thank you.
Let me
All
know.
right, team. Give me 1 second, guys. I'm going to pull up the chat, make sure my screen sharing is good. I was with you guys this morning and yesterday, so you guys are great. I've heard all the comments, all the help. One of my favorite things in this world, not just in trading, is team trading. And I love you guys throwing out the tickers, asking questions. So continue to do that. I'll do my best. I'm not as smart as Jeremy, but I'll do my best. So I heard you guys talk a little bit about options this morning. I think you guys actually day traded an option on the SPY. So, as always, keep those coming. For me, it was one of those days. I think I trade a little more than Jeremy. I think he said he averages about 3-day trades a day. I tend to be around that 4 trades a day mark. And the reason is I don't think I'm quite as good as Jeremy is picking out patterns, but I do think that I can manage risk well. And let me see if I can show you guys an example. I have this on a different computer, but I think I can pull this up. Let's see. Oh, yeah. Give me 1 second, team. I'll be right back with you. And then we'll start scanning. This is the time of day where I heard someone asking, is there a better time to trade and a better time not to trade? I agree with Jeremy that there is no right or wrong time. I just think there's different setups and, what you want to see at different times of the day. So this is my trading today. Hold on. Well, it's not going to pull that up. Anyways, I was just going to show you guys how I like to manage trades, but I think I'll come back to that. Daniel says, hey, Blake. Yep, same here. Only seeing your photo. Uh-oh, you're not seeing the screen share? No screen?
We have that again. Let me make you host, and I just won't be host. And reshare your screen and see if that works.
Okay.
It's like apparently 50 people can and 50 people can't.
There you go. Everyone good now? Hey, Glenn, Dave, can you guys see it now? Perfect. All right, cool. Yeah, I do have the S&P up right now. I was just going to show you guys just the trades that I took today, but in the absence of not messing up the screens, we'll come back to that. But basically, I took 4 trades. I did take the Beyond Meat trade. I took BABA and NVIDIA this morning. And then I took Zion. So for me, up about around an R, or about 0.7 Rs for the day. So it's just managing risk. I can show you guys charts. I'm not sure if I still have them up or not. Here's a prime example. Took Zion, took symbol ZION on the breakdown, just to give you guys an idea of how I trade. I usually try to get this retest if I want to get short on this, just to give me the best opportunity. But it broke down here, held, got the quick retest. And you guys see I was really fast to move my stop down, if you guys can see the lines. And right here, I wanted this to hold. Came out with a small win on it. But really, when these things break down or break out, I want to see them move pretty quickly, or I'll start moving my stop really, really fast to protect myself, because the goal is always to lose less than an R for me. If I could ever get to about a half an R loss, I feel like it's a winning trade, because I know it's like the flipping quarters analogy, right? The more times I do that, the more it's going to play out in my favor if I could tilt the odds to about a 1.5 to 1 or somewhere in that range. So you guys go ahead and throw out some tickers. These are the ones on the right that I'm looking at today. And we'll scroll through these, and if we get some dead time, we'll talk about anything you guys want to talk about. Mel says, Blake, what is your R? Same as Jeremy's. So I actually dropped my R this month because I'm trying a new broker. I know Jeremy was talking about the CFDs. I'm doing the same thing. And because I do trade a little bit more, the parameters I had around this new account, when I calculated it, for me to be in, say, 3 trades at a time, I needed it to be at 200. So let me see if I can share this. Let me show this to you guys. And guys, I apologize. So here, can you guys see that? So that's my P&L from today. So those are the 4 trades I was talking about. And if you guys can see so you can see the realized, or you can see the total. Either way, the goal is always to have the bigger wins than losses, right? And so if you start doing that, and this is just with a $200 R, so I'm right there around that 1 R. And if you can do that day after day after day and just keep those losses small, every once in a while you'll hit a big trade. And a couple of those days really start to tilt things. I heard you guys talking about how relaxed and calm Jeremy is. Jeremy changed my trading because I always thought it was this fast-paced, quick thing. And then when he taught me that strategy and I realized slow and steady, it's a marathon, that's how you do it. So that's pretty much, it's pretty typical of my P&L sometimes. And then every once in a while, I'll have one of these big winners. You just got to stay patient because you never know when those are going to come. Cool. Robert says, Blake, what do you mean about CD? So CFD, it's just a Canadian-based broker, and it's just something new that we were trying out. So for now, my day trading R is right at 200. Thomas says, where do you go to CFD? Jeremy, if you're still here, do we have anything like any official write-ups on it? I know that we had a couple reviews. I did a quick video on it. Thomas, let me see. One second. One second, team. Thomas, remind me hearing about, I do want to look at a couple names really fast to see if we have anything set up, but remind me hearing about an hour on that again, and I'll send you guys a link. Cool. So FTI, let's take a look at FTI. And, I do want to go ahead and throw this out there. If I mispronounce his name, you guys correct me. I hate. One of my favorite things is team trading. One of my least favorite things in this world is mispronouncing names. So you guys just let me know. FTI, nice. Yes, so nice gap up here, right? So 1, 2, 3 days. This is the 4th day up. Nice gap. We'll find some resistance up here. If you saw this basing right here, you could have taken something there. Nice volume. You guys will see me do this often as well. I'll zoom into the 1. And for you folks that don't read the tape, the time and sells, which is basically just a print, a live snapshot of the orders coming in, you can do this as well. So sometimes I'll zoom into the 1 minute and see where the volume came in. I know this is an important level, 26.16 by 26.20 or 26.22. So I'd want to keep an eye on that. But yep, I think the risk to reward trade was down here, seeing this consolidate in this area. So now I'd want to see this pullback or retrace closer to this pink purple line, which is VWAP for me, volume weighted average price. Carolyn says, what size did you grow your account to when you increased your R to 200? So Carolyn, it actually, my R was much higher. It was 400. And I just did this for purposes of this broker. So I have about 80,000 in buying power. And I know my average size is when I put on a trade is somewhere around 20 to 30K in terms of the buying power needed to place the trade. Therefore, I said, hey, let me grow this using 200. I always recommend, as you increase your R, to do it in increments of about 25% max, absolute max. Jason, what's going on, my man? Carolyn, did that answer your question? So, Carolyn, always do your R size about 1% of your account size. So if you say you have a $30,000 account, do 300. Jay says, thoughts on Twitter. Let's take a look. Guys, let me explain my charts really quickly. I know I do a split screen. I like to, for me, the right side of the screen, which is the daily, is always my guide. So even if this looks great over here, if I don't like what's happening here, I ignore this. And I know that's really hard to do sometimes because I used to do this and I'd go, oh my goodness, this intraday, and this is the 15s. Here are the 5s. So I'll keep the 5s up for now. I'll say intraday looks fantastic, but I go to the daily and it doesn't give me an edge. And the more trades you guys have on, the more statistics you'll have to back test, back trade. Jeremy has tons of videos on those to figure out where your real edge is. So for me personally, I need to know where it is on the daily to understand why this is happening or why it may be happening in order for me to put on a trade. Robert says, I really like the split screen. I do the flexible grid in Thinkorswim. Yep, absolutely. Always recommend, folks. And you'll see me just out of habit. I'll go 15s, 5s. Sometimes I'll throw up a 30 or an hourly. And what I'm doing is just getting multiple time frames because different traders, different algos trade on multiple time frames. And I want to see how I can leverage things to give me the best opportunity, the best chance. Sure can, John. John says, hey, Blake, will you explain all those lines, dude? Absolutely. So the black line here is, Jason, I don't see much of a play here on Twitter. What I would have wanted to do is try to bounce it off this 50 simple moving average on the daily. Here was your pullback. I know that's what you were looking for, Jason, right? Here's a push here. Look for that 50% retrace, assuming this is the low of the day. Try to buy here. See if Twitter can push up here. I don't think that would have filled me. I would have looked for something closer, probably down here. Oh, you're in. 37.15 for a day trade? All right, let me look at this really fast since you guys are in this. You guys know my goal is always to make you money. See what you did. Did you buy this retrace or did you buy the break of the fives right here? Retrace. Oh my goodness, I love it. So guys, I heard someone asking Jeremy about fibs earlier. I will use them. I actually came up with a strategy. We call it the bird box. It's basically just a retrace to a fib. So let's just say you use this range. You bought basically on this 3.8 level, right in front of 50%. I always like the 618 intraday. It gives a little bit of exaggerated move, and I can take some off back into the next resistance. Jason, I like it, my friend. And you want to know why I like it? Mainly because this daily support level, buy low, sell high. And if anything, this should retrace back into this 37.45, 37.50 level today to give you an opportunity to move your stop up or take some off to reduce risk. So let me come back to John's request to explain the line. So John, the black line is the 200. All these are simple moving average. So, and you guys call out trades, I will absolutely go check it out and come back to this. So black line equals 200. Red line equals 50. We'll call that yellow. It's yellow or gold. I'm a guy. I think we're more colorblind than the women. So there's the 10. And then the blue equals the 100. And all are SMAs, so simple moving averages. Boom. All right, cool. So 200, 150, and then the 10. The 10 really is an accelerated trend line for me. I use that when I'm swing trading to see when the quick or the really fast momentum is starting to dry up a little bit. I have plenty of examples of that. Here's a swing trade we're in now. Lulu, not a perfect example. How about Katos? Boy, Charles crushed Katos. See this move? Never actually closed below the 10 until right here. So for me, that's say, okay, if I haven't hit targets, it's time to lighten up. We may be due for some retrace. 50s intermediate, 100s, just kind of an area I watch for. And then the 200 is obviously a huge, huge indicator for me on the daily. And then on the intraday, let me hop back over here to the 15s. I'll hop over to Twitter since you guys are looking at it. And this blue line is the 10 EMA. And this pink purple line is VWAP, which I use in the morning. After the first 30 minutes to an hour, I pay less attention to it and then focus on this 10 EMA. And I use that 10 EMA on both the 15s and the 5s. Cool, guys. All right. Love the question. Robin says, Blake, asked about the Bird Box the other day. I made some money by using it on Zoom. Thank you. Absolutely. I love it. Robin, good job pulling the trigger, because I will say it is a very tough strategy sometimes because you're buying on what feels like a breakdown, but you use the daily and the larger trend, right, to buy on support or sell into resistance rather than waiting for some confirmation. Love it, Robin. Glenn says, what do you think about shorting Beyond Meat on the retrace around 203.50? Let me hop over. We'll talk through it. 203.50. Oh, man. Neil, you're speaking my language. You're speaking my language. Hold on one second, team. All right, sorry about that. So, Neil, on that note, that's very similar to the Bird Box. So what you're doing is you're looking for this retrace. This was the break, right? So you're trying to get something back around this area. I like it, my friend. Honestly, though, here's something to note. Usually when you get the big break, you usually get about 50% retrace into that. So Neil, although I would love to get it up at that 203.50 area, I think this 202.20 may be max opportunity on that. But now you have consolidation down here. I'd be, you know what, John? Neil, I would be greedy on that. I'd do 203.50. If you don't get it, no worries. No worries at all. Yep. Thomas says, what about Walmart? Let's take a look. Guys, you keep throwing it out. I'm here for you guys. So Walmart, we talked about this. One thing to note is once something has a great earnings, these things really can run for 3 months or for the remainder of the quarter, but I always look for the back half. So once you get about halfway through earnings, if it's been on this incredible run, take some profits because you usually get this pullback. Here on Walmart, it's tough. Not a lot of people are trapped. We day trade gaps because people are trapped or we start a new trend. I think Walmart, some people could step in here and buy this. You could have taken this short. I'm just not sure the reward to risk is going to be there. ATR, so folks, if you look down here at the bottom of this chart, you see this highlighted orange 1.33. ATR just means average true range, and it kind of gives you an idea of, what's typical for this thing to move in a given day. And today, this one's already moved 1.6 or 1.57 to be exact, or close to exact. So for me personally, I think if I were to do anything, I'd be looking to fade it. But obviously, the trend says bearish. I think it's one I'm going to be hands off with. And you guys will see me do that a lot. I'll go, I could make something happen here, but the reward to risk isn't quite there. So I'll, as tough as it is for me to do sometimes, I'll lay it off because I love to trade. Absolutely love to trade. Oh, Glenn, did that answer your question on the 15s? So 10 EMA and VWAP. I use VWAP the first 30 minutes to an hour, just understanding that market makers use pegged orders to VWAP, volume weighted average price, and then I just use this 10 EMA. But more than anything, folks, I absolutely use horizontal price action. And if you guys ever see me really quickly hop into a 1 minute, the thing I'm looking for is volume spikes like this. And I'm just looking for significant levels based on volume. So price, then volume, then indicators such as moving averages. Son says, is GE a buy? Son, what's your time frame? Are you day trading it? You swing trading it? So like a 2 to 3 week trade, or are you investing? So there's the daily. Let me hop over to the weekly. I love the weekly chart too. Yeah, I think so. Consolidation, big spike down. Here was your quick retrace. Fundamentally, I won't comment. Technically, I think so. I mean, nice bounce. Here's the thing about GE. Any of these blue chip names like this, that pay dividends, although their dividends tiny right now, I usually try to buy some retrace. So I look for something tomorrow, or if you get this retrace into, say, 10.50 today, I think you could set up a decent risk to reward trade. All right. Loving these questions. I miss free week. Jumpy says, thanks. Why use simple moving average and not EMA lines? Hey, great question, John. You want to know why? Because it's what I started out with. To be honest, it's what I started out with. And the one thing I learned when I first started trading, I was the guy that had at least 60 indicators of some sort on my chart. That's probably an exaggeration. 30. That's probably not an exaggeration. But I learned that the more indicators I had on, the more I could justify a trade, whether it's going against me or to stay in it rather than just take, profits at targets. Oh, and let me preface this. Anything you guys have done bad or wrong in trading, I've done it twice. So feel free to ask any questions. It wasn't until after the first 2 years that I decided, hey, if I want to make this a full-time job for me, I have to treat it like a business, use statistics, don't trade on emotions, act like someone's watching me. If someone was just over my shoulder filming me, how would I trade versus if I'm just sitting alone in the bliss of my home. So with that being said, John, it's just the lines that I started out with. I just use them as a guide. It's not perfect for me. I do think, folks that have EMAs, they work as well. The goal is just to get about 50 trades based off of indicators and get some statistics off that. So there's no right or wrong. Great question, though. Charles, what's up? LK, I know, right? So I almost bailed on LK because I took this trade right here on this day. And I was like, man, I don't like when they retrace quite that much. I stayed in and went ahead and moved my stop up once I got this breakout. I hit 2 targets today. And I'll try to hold this one as long as possible. Just nice moves. And guys, one other thing to note is we were just talking about Bird Box. Here's a fantastic example. And I'll send you guys a video or show you guys how to access those videos if Jeremy hasn't already. But what I like to do is when something has a super strong push out of the gate like this, I don't chase it. I look for the 618 retrace, put a stop below the 786, take some profits up here, take some up here, and see if this thing can move back up and break high of the day. So that's the Bird Box strategy. But my point with that is, folks, don't feel like you always have to chase. They will come back to you at times. This is very normal movement for a stock, especially since this is the 1, 2, 3, 4th day up. That's about a 20% move in less than a week. You think it's going to retrace? Who knows, but probably. If I were making a bet, I would say it would retrace. How do you get those pivots to show up in price? Great question. You click on this little guy up here and just type in pivots. I think it's a pre-built one, pivots high, low. Click on that one, and it'll add it to your chart. Alan says, hey, Blake, expand more on VWAP within the first 30 minutes and T10 EMA afterwards. Absolutely, Alan. So Alan's asking about VWAP, volume weighted average price. And guys, the reason I'm not looking at a lot of trades right now, this isn't a time of day where I trade heavily. And if I do, it's usually fades, but those usually come around here in about 30 minutes. So I'm okay, backing off. But as always, throw out tickers and working down the chat for now. Alan says, so the VWAP, this pink line right here, volume weighted average price, basically it moves more based off of more volume around certain price levels. And Alan, early in the morning, market makers, if you're familiar with specialists and market makers, say in the NASDAQ, which is the exchange some of these are listed on. See right here. There's not a lot of price discovery yet, so they won't use price levels as much as they'll use VWAP, and they'll peg orders around there. So they'll throw out bids and offers around those areas. That tends to dissipate around after the first 30 minutes to an hour, so I pay less attention to it. And then I just use the 10 EMA. Folks, always ask why or what is a moving average. And there are really 2 types of support and resistance in the market. One is price, right? The other is time. So what I mean by that is, let me think of another trade I'm in. So here's one, ticker symbol STNE, is as this moving average approaches, all that represents is, hey, this thing's kind of held up here and consolidated, so maybe we have some time support coming in. Versus something like this, you guys see this double bottom right here around 28, that's a price support. But when you have these big breakouts, the longer they hang out up there, the more we call that support, right? So all moving averages is time support or resistance, and I use the 10 EMA based off that. And all the 10 means is whether you're looking at a 5-minute candle, it would be 10 5-minute candles. If I'm looking at a 15, it would be 10 15-minute candles. Great stuff. Graham's throwing out some SPY numbers. Let's take a look. 298.36. And Graham, I know I'm late to this. So 298.36 by 298.06. So looking to go bullish with about a 30-cent stop. I love round numbers. 298.36. Boom. So you're looking for about a 50% retrace in this candle and says, hey, I'll give it one opportunity to wait below that, trap some people. You're looking for an afternoon run. I don't hate that. I think you have to be bullish on these markets right now. It's really tough to be short. Yep, I like it. I think it's gives you, and here, if you look at all these 15s, right, they usually retrace about 50% of the previous candle on some level. Right there, close to 50%. Well, that one just fell off because we faded early this morning. So if you get that, you may have to wait about 15 or 30 minutes after you get filled, Graham, but I don't hate it. Thomas throwing out ticker symbol PFE, FISA. Ooh, look at that daily. So here's what I do, folks, just to let you guys know where my eyes are going. The first thing they do is go over here. Love the consolidation, pull back, holding support. Yep, let me hop over to the 15s. The chart looks a little dirty. We got some volume coming in here. Guys, so this is one thing. I was talking about the 1 minute. I can't tell exactly where the volume came in, so I'll try to zoom in on the ones. See, the volume came in here. Remember, for every buyer, there's a seller. For every seller, there's a buyer. So it's not that there's more buyers or sellers in this area. It's just that one's more aggressive than the other. So 42.95 by 42.92, something important happened there. Price action after that is moving up. So short term, it looks like it could head higher. But I think I'd want to swing trade this more than day trade it. Good look there, though. Daniel says, what value at ATR is at? Great question. So Daniel's basically asking, what are the parameters in the settings? This one's a 20. I know a lot of people use 12. So either way, so 0.61 there, if I change it back to 20, and you know what, Daniel? I actually thought that I had that on 12. So thanks for pointing that out. I'll need to go back and look at that parameter because I am a little bit shorter term. So I want that to be, and most of my swing trades are about 2 weeks. So that would make sense. You know what, Daniel? Thanks for being awesome, my friend. Jeremy, if you're here, can we give Daniel something for that? So 12. I'm going to change that to 12. Go ahead and save those. I should probably save that on my indicators as well. I'll do that later. But yep, Daniel, do you use a different one? I think 12 and 20 are the most common. James says, over what time period is ATR figured? James, that may have answered your question, right? So I just changed it to 12, so it'll use a 12-day time frame. So if I were to go to the weekly, it would use 12 weeks. So right now, I just changed it back to 12. Glenn says, yes, thank you for looking at the fib retrace to the golden pocket. Oh, I like that. That says, when do you change your time frame during the intraday from 5-minute to 15-minute? So for me, it's about 9 o'clock. So 11 Eastern is when I start using the 15-minute as the guide. But John, I'll use them all. Yeah, I'll use them all. Alan says, so you use horizontal lines to assess price action. Always. Price action always is most important, right? Because that's what pays you. And then I use the other things to build a case. So guys, when I'm doing like coaching, like one-on-one coaching with someone, what I'll do is make them set 5 criteria to enter a trade, and they have to check off 4 of the 5. So what you could do is say, hey, is horizontal price action there, volume, a moving average, is the daily. So you can start setting these parameters. So basically, I always use it as like you're being basically like a lawyer. How do you build the best case to take the trade? And if you can't build a case against it, take it. Just take it. Paul says, United Healthcare off the 200. Absolutely, Paul. Absolutely. Paul, did you get some of that today? Great job. So this is what Paul said, or what Paul's looking at. So the larger the time frame on the simple moving average, the more time it needs to interact with it before it becomes support or resistance. And what I mean by that is, you see how long UNH has been under the 200? Here's one interaction. It almost did there. I'll count that as one. So 1, 2, 3. So it should bounce, give you some retrace, maybe consolidate, and then go higher. When is earnings? Oh, it already had earnings. Interesting. Didn't really move much. But absolutely, I like that opportunity. Again, you don't know if it's just going to blow right through the 200, but if you had an order out there, congrats, it filled you, and now you can manage the risk accordingly. I just think it's one of those probabilistic plays where a major moving average like 200, even if it's 10 minutes, it's going to provide some support more than likely and give you some levels to play off of. Love it. Great look there, Paul. And guys, so we weren't looking at this one, or I wasn't personally. Paul was. You're not going to catch them all. And that's why I have a basket of stocks that I watch every single day. Can't catch them all. Even if I could, I don't have the buying power. And here's ticker symbol ZION forming again. It needs to hold below. I was watching the prints into this 42. So guys, this is not official. But I'll show you guys what I'm looking at here. See this 10 EMA on the 15s coming down? So that means time resistance is coming down now, right? Also, I was watching this 42.50 level, played pretty big. The one thing I will watch here is, see these tweezers here? What that basically represents is for 30 minutes, this 42.26, 42.25 level held. So I know that's important. So I need to be taking some off there. And what you do is, and there's a fantastic chance I missed this, or you can always get the retest. So let's say I did that. I always want at least minimum, very minimum, 1-to-1 around the next level of support, and that's going to be close. Whoops. So I could do something like that where I take a small position off a fourth or a fifth, and then I'm really looking for a move back down to low of the day. And folks, this is only down 6% on the day. And some of these big time gaps after earnings can move 10%. So in my head, what I'm thinking is, okay, maybe I take a little bit more there, and then maybe I get a big move down here. And just a quick way that I'll do that sometimes is, let's see, this is down 6.2. So let's see where I get another 3% move. If this were to fall off the map for 10% of the day, it could possibly move all the way down there. I'm not going to expect this thing to do this, but that's an example of a decent reward to risk trade. If you hop over here to the daily, let me move all these lines. See how many people are trapped? Everyone that bought pretty much since January of this year. This is 2019, right? Yep. So you basically have over 7 months of people that are trapped, anyone that bought in that. And then, the people that, bought here and they thought that this could bounce, they may be bailing and saying, hey, I'm done with this thing. So lots of people trapped on that could absolutely roll over. Keep an eye on it. We'll see. I'm not currently in this one. You guys saw my P&L. I took, $159 out of it, so close to an R. I'll be done with it. I think Jeremy has a rule where he can't trade one that he already made profit on it. But let's see how that plays out, folks. You see those wicks? Those are bearish. Let's see if we can see where volume came in. Oh, man. All right, you guys see the volume here and volume here. So this is an important level. It's trading below it. I wish I would have seen that. But here's the thing. We know these usually retrace about 50% of the candle. So let this 15-minute candle close here in about 8 minutes and see if you can catch a 50% retrace if you still want to be in it. And if I were to do that, honestly, you could probably have your stop closer right above 42.60 because it shouldn't get back up there. If it's truly bearish, it shouldn't get back up there. Or you can put your stop here and manage it accordingly here so you don't lose a full R on it. But let's just see it. We'll just watch that one. I was a little slow on the trigger. Oh, John says, break of that 2-month ascending triangle. No, LK, absolutely. So, John, you know what I like to do sometimes? I did it just a second ago, is go and look at the weekly. Usually the weeklies you'll get about 4 white candle, which is basically 1 month, right, before any serious retrace. So 1, 2, there, this could easily run to highs. Boom. And guys, if I'm doing an investment, meaning I want to be in it for a year to 2 years to 3 years, I often look at the weekly to get me to stop me from over trading it. And the reason is once these things break out, if you have a good name, these things can go for a long time. There's so many examples out there. You can go over to SQ, you can go into NVIDIA, hop over to the weekly, and you don't want to micromanage an investment. But as a swing trade, you want to kind of do exactly what I'm doing on LK. Because you know why? Because you can always buy back, maybe not at better prices, but at better risks to reward opportunities when you get some consolidation, all that good stuff. What a bounce on that one intraday. That's why I like that bird box. Whew. Love it. Daniel says, all right, guys, I'm catching up. Daniel says, does VWAP have a value that you can set, or is it standard measurement? I think you can set it in certain platforms. Alex says, Redfin. I almost played Redfin today, but I know there's a lot of, isn't Microsoft acquiring them? Is that Redfin? Or is that's someone else? Another red name, I think. Edna says, Blake, I can't see your 10 line. Can you see this blue line? And oh, you're talking about on the daily, the 10 simple moving average. Yeah, here, I'll do this for you guys, just so you can see it. Well, hold on. EMA settings. Not sure why it's not letting. Oh, here we go. They changed it up on me. I don't want it that big. The reason is it's not quite as important as the other moving averages, and I'll tell you why later. Is that a little bit better? And the reason is because if I'm swing trading or if I'm using that, I'll also use the hourlies and use this blue line right here, the 100 EMA, and it's pretty similar to where that 10 simple moving average is. So right here on Redfin, it's at 1744. It's at 1748 here. So I keep it lighter just to keep an eye on it. But if I'm swing trading or using it, I'll also know where it is on my hourly. Good stuff. Let me make this cleaner by taking VWAP off here. And that's another thing, folks. If I always recommend, if you're finding trading a little difficult, don't add. Subtract things from your trading. People tend, anything in their life, people tend to add when they're trying to fix or solve a problem, when more times than not, they need to subtract. So always, because if you start adding, you don't know if the things before were good or bad. Always take away moving averages. Always take away VWAP, things like that. So that is huge. I think that was a huge change for me as well. So Alex said, sorry, Alex, went off on a little tangent there. Redfin, 1740 stop by at 1740. And I know I'm just getting to this. You're probably earlier than me. 1718. So 1740. Let's hop over to the fives since this was kind of consolidating. So 1740, did you trade this break here? Let me hop back over the 15s, and you'll see me do this a lot. Yep, so 15s, there's the break. You're looking for a move higher of the day. Here's the only thing that concerns me sometimes, Alex, is the daily. You see how you have the 10 simple moving average, which we also know is the 100 EMA on the hourly. You have the 50 simple moving average on the daily. You have 200 up here. Your target is 1772, so right into the 200. Let's do this. Average true range, 0.64. How much has it moved today if we include this? 0.74. So I think we may be in just some consolidation here on Redfin today. So it could, absolutely it could. You know, anything can happen. But I just think, speaking in terms of probabilities, we may just hang out here. And your stop's at 1718. Love it. This is clear support right here. And you've given yourself a little bit of room. So if anything, Redfin could do this, retest back down here, do something here, and then end of the day may go. But I think you'll just be holding that one for a bit. Lowered target to 1757. Yeah, and that's basically it. Yeah, you'll get that quick pop on it. And I think you're not going to get much more than where your initial target was, 1770. Yep. John P says, how do you trade off the VWAP on intraday time frame? I use it, like I was saying, I use it early in the morning. I'm trying to think of one. Some of the large cap names don't trade quite as well. Let's see NVIDIA this morning. We'll do this. And guys, if you have TradingView, always use this playback feature right here, this bar replay. Man, it is fantastic. All right, so let me throw VWAP on here. Obviously, it moved a little bit. But you see this, John, what you usually get is one, maybe two retest if you're lucky within the first 15 minutes on VWAP. So let's just say, first of all, let's talk about why I was trading NVIDIA. Look at this gap. Beautiful, right? It's been interacting with the 200 a few times, went on a few dates. Now it said, all right, let's move on to bigger and better things. And beautiful little gap here. I know the ATR's about 4.5. It had plenty of room to move. And so you get this opening sentiment, which is very bullish, and you see how it held around VWAP, which is also, I mean, you could throw many things around there. It's also about a 50% retrace on this opening range, but you can use that as your guide. And you see how it's interacting with VWAP here, where it's like, oh, do we want to, are the sellers stronger here? Are the buyers stronger down here? And a lot of institutions get graded on, did they buy lower than VWAP, sell higher, or vice versa? So that's kind of how I use it. Hey, is this VWAP going to hold? Are they actually buying around there? And if so, I'll try to make a play off of it. But like I said, I use the 10 EMA as the day progresses. VWAP early on. You usually get 1 to 2 retest on it. I would never trade the third because it just very rarely happens. Hope that helped. Alan says, thanks, Blake. This is so valuable. Absolutely, my friends. Pedro says, what on XOP? Whoops, not SOP. XOP swing trade. So let me preface this, Pedro, by saying I am not a very good oil and gas trader. I think because I grew up in the age of the tech. So it wasn't the 90s or early 2000s when I started trading. I've been doing this for about 6 years, 7 years, somewhere around that range. When tech names were just, they had more beta, gave more opportunity for movement. But for a day trade on XOP, wow. You're looking at a swing trade, which I prefer. So you beat me to the punch on that one. 1, 2. This is holding. You kind of have a triple bottom here. Let me get to a higher time frame for us, Pedro. So you have a double bottom on the weekly, really triple. It's holding here. You know what I bet happens? Well, this is big time support. It wouldn't surprise me to see this take out this 23.89 level, spike through, and then give you a level to trade off of. But what you can do, Pedro, is see how this trades in the past. If you trade off the daily, this did take out this 24.66, so it could be good to go. Yeah, I'm just not very good at – I don't want to get you in a bad trade. Ask me about tech, and we can do it all day long, or some of these other names. I just tend not to be the greatest oil and gas trader. But I think there are some good reward to risk opportunities here because there's clear support down here, right? It is below all major moving averages, so you need to take that into account. But if you're going to buy – if I were to buy oil and gas, I would not be trying to trade a breakout. I would for sure try to buy support. So I wouldn't hate it. Not bad at all. Glenn says, UNH earnings were pretty good. Quarter was good, forecasted lower yearly. So Glenn, what I love earnings. Absolutely love earnings plays. What I watch for is what happens in the next week. I'm not sure if other people call me a stalker or if I just call myself a stalker now. But what I love to do is keep this on my radar. And you guys will see me have flags over here, sometimes on my charts. And what I'm doing is I'm stalking them for a trade. I'm trying to think which one I did. StoneCo was one I did last time. iRobot. Here, I'll show you a prime example of that. Back in the day. Or you could just use this earnings, right? Earnings were good. Give it a couple days. Carvana was probably more recent. So see this right here. This is the candle on Carvana earnings. Had a super high short float. Earnings were fantastic. The growth was great. And what happened is it pushed up on the open. I said, okay, this is on my radar. I'm going to watch for a break of this 46.26 level and use this pivot right here as my guide. And sure enough, it broke and it never came back. And of course, I didn't capture this whole move. I never do. But it went on a 67% run into next earnings. So, Glenn, on that note, keep an eye on UNH over the next couple days. And the big money, they're forming a position either to the short side, or they're selling, or they're accumulating right now while it's off of everyone's radar for the most part. So I'd keep an eye on to what happens with this earnings day level right here. Do we get above that, or do we retrace and roll back over? And that could just mean for the next 2 to 3 months, we just hang out in this area or sell off a little bit. Be a stalker, my friends. Be a stalker. Jar says, Yeti, ticker symbol YETI. You know what? This thing has been just on an awesome run. I tried to short this. Where did I try to short this? Right here, I think. No, because I lost on my short. I think right here, and Yeti came back and got me. Yeah, this thing's – here's the thing. I heard you guys talking about their products a little bit earlier. And I tend to like companies that, do have – you guys are saying, hey, they don't have just one product. I agree. It's not like GoPro or anything, right? They do have a couple products, and it is name brand. Jeremy threw out the analysis of Lululemon, which, we're going to capture some decent money on this swing trade. But I tend not to want to buy those. But if you look at price action doesn't lie, right? Every support level getting bought. Boom. Retrace, bought. So It's kind of like some people saying, oh, Roku's overdone. Yeah, well, good luck trying to bet against that. So I like Yeti. Anyone that's long here, any institution, no reason to really sell. Maybe take some partials, but no one's going to dump this thing because no one's trapped. So I like it. You guys want to talk some bird box? Here we go. Let's say you missed the initial push. Hopping over here, let me draw. I'm looking for a 618 retrace. You guys see it? Push. Boom. I would have had my stop down here. And yeah, sometimes these things just blow through and stop me out. It happens. It's trading. Boom, right there. Launch. See you later. So another strategy you can look at. Guys, I will say, if you try that bird box, which is, guys, all it is. The reason we call it bird box is because you feel like you're blind doing it. All it is a retrace. Start small. Figure out which ones work best doing that. And see if you can add it to your plan. Jason saying, come on, Twitter. You can do it. Yeah, nice. So you have 1, 2, 3. This will be your fourth 15 if this holds on. Jason, let me make this feel a little better for you. Here's the hourly. A retrace, let's say you use this. It's going to stall out usually about 50% of that. So 37.50 is probably going to cause a little bit of congestion. Hourlies are working for you. Look at that nice hammer candle on the hourlies. I think you're okay. You should be fine. You know what? I don't like this. 20. Good trade, Jason. Way to anticipate where support could be rather than waiting on a break of something. That extra little edge in trade sometimes makes all the difference in the world if you can get good at those. So nice job, my friend. We have a saying here, be a bull, be a bear, don't be a deer. And what that means is, guys, if you see the trade, take it. You've done all the homework. Don't let it scare you out. Take it if you see it. Nice job, Jason. Sylvia says, you barely touched the 30-minute and 1 hour time frame. Any reason? Sylvia, are you saying that I just kind of glance at it and then move on? I got it. Jim, I see your questions on futures. Looks like Jeremy's got you there. So if it says, when the simple moving averages or EMAs cross each other, what does it mean at that point? So great question. It just means that, so here's a prime example, right? If the 10 right here on the 50, and I know you can use this for all time frames, but once it crosses right there, you have to think the short-term trend is much faster than the, we'll say the red, the 50 is medium, right? So now it's accelerated. So a lot of times people, they'll look for these crosses or they have indicators with the crosses, but basically it just means that the shorter time frame is catching up with price and can provide new support. So some people, like longer term investors, will use the longer term time frame, or sorry, longer term moving averages to buy off of, whereas we momentum traders will sometimes use these shorter term time frames to, you know, for our trades, because we want to try to catch these big moves just using technical analysis and just building a case for it. So to answer your question, Sylvia, what that means is the short-term momentum is now bypassing what was probably previously resistance, but now it's catching up. This will start to tilt up. And once you get all major moving averages in your favor, game on. You want to see what happens when all major moving averages start to go in your favor? Stuff like this. A run on PayPal. I mean, 40% run on a huge name. Actually, yeah, on a huge name like that. Shopify, you get all major moving averages on your side. Here you go again. 100% run. So, you know, everyone's on the same side there. Short-term investors, medium-term, a little bit longer term, and then probably value investors, the larger money. That's kind of how they are. That's what they look like. Man, Shopify is so far away from the 200. Crazy. All right, team, I'm gonna do a quick scan. So here's the Zion. This is the one we were looking at, right? We talked about, hey, there was the push, held below VWAP a little bit. You had tweezers here. The main thing for me here were seeing these wicks here, seeing this 10 EMA coming down. So we have time resistance catching up to us. So if we missed any of this, it's cool. Now we have this. There's your break. Do I know this is going to work? Absolutely not. But what I did was said, hey, 10 EMA is close enough. We have a break of a 15-minute candle. And I went into the ones and I said, where did volume come in recently? And what did price do afterwards? So here's your volume. See these candles down here? Came in, broke below that. And I said, yeah, I think I have enough criteria to put on a trade. So guys, this is not official, but for you folks that are with us, you guys know I do this. Hey, target one was hit. For you guys that are not familiar, this is kind of how I draw it out. And I leave all my lines on here so we can see how the trade progressed. And what I've been doing a lot recently since volatility's dried up a little bit is I say, hey, I know that it's very, very good opportunity that that this thing retraces about 50% within this candle, but I don't want it to retrace more than that. So a lot of times I'll move my stop here to break even, and that's why you guys see me get a lot of these small wins sometimes until something blows out like this, and then boom, you have your big winner. So I'll just move this stop down to something like that, and it's pretty much impossible for me to lose on this trade now. I may only make 0.3, 0.4 R, but I'm not going to lose. And not only am I not losing, I'm giving it a chance to make a big, big move for me, right? So if this fills here, I'll be out 1/2, and what I'm waiting for then is a pivot. I want to see it do something like this. There's my pivot, and then guess what I'll do? Just move my stop down there. Simple as that. I know it's crazy, right? This is what I do for a living now. It's kind of crazy. Some people are so much smarter than me out there just solving the world's problems, doing nuclear fusion. Area 51 has anti-gravity. They're flying UFOs, all that good stuff. And I'm just sitting here drawing these, what I think are pretty lines and playing almost a video game sometimes, just understanding supply and demand. Good, Pedro. Good stuff. Thomas says, Walmart's a bear trap. So folks, what Thomas means by bear trap is it looks like a short, right? Looks like a short. Here's the break of this. It's like, oh boy, we're going to continue lower. And they say, nope, buy it. And that's just knowing, Walmart's nice dividend paying name. Here's another thing, just understanding how institutional money works. No one's really trapped. You don't want to create a tax event. So, if you're a big investor and you bought down here, you're doing your best not to sell up here. So, just understanding supply and demand, I don't think you're going to have a ton of sellers. They want to hold these investments for a long time, collect their dividends, and just let this puppy ride. You can see them on Shopify, all that good stuff. That's why a lot of people will say buy high, sell higher, which is essentially buy low, sell high, right? All right, team. Good questions. Loving this group. Great showing. Good stuff. Alan says, must have missed it. What is a bird box? So Jeremy just threw in that link. So Alan, take a look at that. Just think of it as just a retracement. Understanding the longer term trend, so like the daily trend, and using an intraday support level to take a stab at what I would deem as a good reward to risk trade. Thanks, Jeremy. Sylvia says, well, answer, thanks. Absolutely. Daniel says, hey, Blake, how many stocks do you have on your list and how do you select them? Would account size be relative to the quantity? And what are the factors you consider when choosing stocks? Volume, price, action, frequency of gaps. Absolutely. So, Daniel, I'm assuming you're referring to, say, like a swing trade or a longer term trade? I have Falco. Falco, I'm a big space nerd. Come on. Rosa says, what are your pivots? Are those floor trader pivots? Ooh, interesting question. Rosa, will you explain that to me? I don't want to answer that wrong. I think I know what you're talking about, but I don't want to go on this, because I can be long-winded sometimes. I don't want to go on this long tangent and you'd be like, hey, Blake, that's not even what I was talking about. Robin says, do you use the same method for options as well? Absolutely. Options are so I've been working a lot on my options trading, but absolutely, I was very good at selling options or writing options, right? Credit spreads, naked puts, things like that. But in terms of buying them, not only do you have to be right on price action, but you also have to select the time and understand the vega or the volatility, the premium that you're going to pay. So I've been working on that a lot, but absolutely, right, Robin? The option's not going to correlate one-to-one with the price of the stock, but it will correlate positively, meaning they'll move in the same way. So like if I buy a call option and the stock moves up, it's going to move up, but it's not always one-to-one. So there's a couple of factors that I've had to learn when it comes to buying them, but absolutely. Or it says the ones you follow the formula for trader pivots, the formula. Are you talking about just on retracements, what we were talking about earlier, Rosa? So when I was talking about a pivot, I think you were asking, or we were talking about this Zion trade, right? So I was just looking for a pivot. So just think of a pivot for me. Got it. Okay. So Rosa, what I was saying on pivots is, so like assume that I was in this trade, I was in it earlier and got close to an R on it. Obviously the retrace, but I didn't want to be a part of this, right? Because in hindsight, it's easy to say, oh, well, here we go, Blake. But in hindsight, I didn't want to bet against those 15-minute tweezers, which means support was there for 30 minutes. Guys, remember, there's only 6.5 hours in a trading day, so 30 minutes can be very significant. So I wanted to trail that stop pretty closely, and it worked out okay. But what I was saying about the pivots, Rosa, is so here would have been the trade right here. So I would have done this 42.46 by somewhere up in this area, 42, we'll call it 66. And this broke down, filled me here, and then I just went ahead and moved my stop down here. And the reason is because we had a big 15-minute candle. I don't mind this retracing 50%. I really don't want to see it all the way up here. If it stops me out and rolls over, that's fine. But my best trades, when they do this, they may give 1, 30, 40, 50% retrace, and then boom, see you later. And I just want to tilt it in my favor. So what I was saying, Rosa, to answer your question on pivots is basically the last high or low. And so I would deem this as a pivot, right? So here's this is a pivot. Now this is a pivot. Now what I'm looking for is this to fill my target too. And let's just play this out visually. What do I want to see? Something like this is pretty normal. And then maybe you get this break like that. So now this would be my new pivot, and I would just keep moving my stop down based on pivots. Because if it breaks that, we now have a higher high, and that tells me the trend is over short term. Yep, absolutely. Vina Chandra said, I hope I pronounced that right, says pivot trading is a standalone strategy. Reference book Pivot Boss. Absolutely. But guys, pivots, all these things, a lot of times when you really dig into them, if you're just a super curious person like I am, they all come out to be the same thing. You'll be like, oh, that's a double bottom. Or, new pivots, double bottom, higher low, lower high, shaping up a pennant or a flag. Guys, a lot of these things represent the same thing. Just think about what they are underlying. Rosa, did I answer your question? Did that help on the pivots a little bit? Oh, Robin says, or Rosa, that answered your question. Robin says, I do simple calls and puts, nothing fancy. You know what, Robin? I could probably learn from you. Absolutely. So, Rosa, what I like to do on options is very similar to what I was saying earlier, is use the overall trend. So, like, what I mean by that is SQ. I am long SQ, more of an investment play, but I'm looking to add somewhere in this area. And what I look for is kind of like the bird box is, hey, if we get back into this area, I'll buy some calls. If this moves up, cool. If it just totally breaks down on me, fine. I know what my risk is. I've done a lot of converting calls sometimes where I'll take a stab at something. I don't know. This is a prime example where I was looking to buy some calls on it. And if this thing blew through earnings or just found a bottom, and I'll do this on bottoming stocks, then I'll go ahead and convert those calls to shares, and I'll try to trade around that as a longer-term position. So I'm still working on it. I think one of these days I'll be as good as you, though, Robin. That's the goal. William says, I was wondering how you play breakouts, for example, on 3 minutes. What is too extended to enter a trade when you enter a breakout? Love it. William, I've kind of gone against breakouts and breakdowns. I'm trying to think of one that happened today. Do you have an example for me, William? I'll make it easier for us. I think so. NVIDIA today was too extended to trade the breakout. That candle was 133 and the ATR is 448. It already moved at the top of that candle. about 2.74, which is about half the ATR. So I would have wanted to wait on some support level, which I did. Or it says, yes, that helped. Can you explain ATRs? Yep, average true range. So Rosa, quick lesson on average true range, just basically means so right now we have this set on 12. So over the last 12 days, what is the average range that NVIDIA has? And it says 4.48, so $4.48. And essentially what that measures is the rate, so we'll call it the close here. So we were at 3.54 there. So I assume maybe it has one more dollar left in it. So somewhere in here is where I want to make sure that that is my max reward that I'm basing risk off of. Now here's an example. I'm trying to think of an example. Okay, so here's another one. So ATR is also just off of the range. So some people will say, hey, Whirlpool is down $8.39 today, but the true range of that is actually more than that today. It's actually $14.58. And the reason is because you had that spike up on the morning, right? And Rosa, I love telling people what things are, but more importantly, I like to tell them what to do with it. And what to do with it is, like I was saying earlier, right? Be that lawyer, be that attorney, treat every stock or trade as like a case. And how can you align the most things to give you the best risk reward opportunity? Is everything, how many things are aligning in your favor to make it worth it? So for me, I wouldn't want to short Whirlpool here just because it's made that big move already. This is kind of a support area. Not a ton of people are trapped. I know the sentiments to the bearish side, but I don't think I can play that one enough to put some moolah in my pocket. Does that help on average true range? And William's saying overstock. Let's talk about it. So William's question was on like a 3-minute chart. How do you know when something's too extended? Well, the first thing I would note here is that this is yesterday. The first things I look at is William. This sold off, and now it's trading below this 10 simple moving average, which has been support for so long. It may be resistance in the short term. You need another example of that. Let's see, Snapchat, kind of holding below that. AMD did a good example of this where it had this, then the 10 became resistance here before you had, I think it was Micron News that set this thing up. But you can see how this is now going to be resistance before it gets and holds above it. So let me go back over to Overstock. And to answer your question, so let's just do this. ATR 1.53, 31. I think you could have played the breakout on that. Absolutely, if you want to play that. So Jeremy loves high wave candles. He's the master at 3-minute high wave candles and trading based off those. He has 1 million videos on those, so I'd highly recommend those. But I wouldn't say that. William, here's my overview on that. Look at the daily. You'll know from the daily if it's too extended to try a breakout or not. And then also you'll learn on the type of name. If it's a high growth name or something like Overstock, if it breaks that 3-minute, it can go. If it's something like Microsoft or Oracle or Adobe, sometimes it may need some pullback and just kind of consolidate before it decides to go. But yeah, that's not a bad one. The only thing is I wouldn't want to trade into that 10 simple moving average. If the range on NVIDIA would have been about half of what it is there, I absolutely would have taken. So like, let's say, here's a good example. See this candle right here, William? If that would have been the open on NVIDIA, oh my goodness, absolutely would have been going long. In fact, if this one would have been it, there's a decent chance I would have taken that one as well. So just putting that together, also, William, you have to know whether it's a fresh earnings play or just a little micro gap up like NVIDIA today. So here's how I'll define that. Let's say a micro gap up like this and a break of that 3-minute is less than 1/3 of what the ATR is. I think that gives you a good probability chance of making that trade work. I do, William. Yep. And again, you know, it's not perfect by any means. I'm just looking for a way to give me the best odds to take the trade. I don't know. I think the hardest thing for traders sometimes is everyone looks for like this exact formula, and there is none. All you're doing is playing probabilities. Oh, man. So Jason says the 1 minute on QCOM. 1 second. Oh, yeah. Oh, Jason, you know what else, though? So 1, 2, 3. That's going to give you a 3-minute candle. Hold on 1 second, team. Oh, here you go. Here's a good example. Nice look on that. Now, I wouldn't have been trading this one just because I don't think that's not the daily look that I want, but this is a fantastic example of what can happen, right? So let's see. ATR on that is 2. This is about 6 or 0.68. So that is less. It's right around. Yeah, that's less than. It's right around that 1/3. Yeah, so plenty of opportunity there. Broke. You could have had your stop right there, and in 3 minutes you made your money. So I wouldn't have been watching that one, but that's a fantastic example to use. Alan, right here. So I'll just have it down here. There's plenty of places I think you can put it, but just right down here. Good stuff. Rosa says, yes, thanks. Anytime. Thanks for asking the questions. Falco says, check Pete Polaris. Ticker symbol PII. Oh, man. You know what, Falco? I was watching this one because didn't this one, I know they had earnings, but it was kind of under the radar, right? Not a lot of people. Oh, man. Push through 92. I think. You know what, Falco? This is going to be one that I watch possibly for a swing trade. And guys, the reason I'm going to watch this for a swing trade is we're through earnings. There was clear buying all day today. So now I'm looking for some consolidation. I usually on my swing trades do ATR of around 1.5 or 2. So I look for a stop somewhere around that $5 mark and see if that $5 mark can be under support level. See if I can catch this into maybe buying into today's range, try to buy it tomorrow. But Falco, we missed it, but is this a bird box? Ooh, it would have been so close. It would have worked. This would have filled us right here. I probably would have done a stop under 87. It would have been scary, but it would have worked somehow. Oh, man. Falco, I think that's going to be a swing trade for us. Richard says, LK, high of the day. Yes, sir. Wow, what a move. What a move. So, Richard, here's one to understand, right? You could have taken a breakout in this range right here. But, after you get that morning push on one that's been up 1, 2, 3 days, to me, that is extended. So, William, going back to our talk, this is one to me that would have been a little bit extended today for me to buy a breakout. I would have looked for some pullback into support like that. Good stuff. Falco, talking about iRobot. Let's play this thing over earnings. Ooh, was earnings today? Richard says, swing trade for me. Yeah, me too, Richard. Me and you, baby. I love team trading. Up nearly 3R now on LK. Hey, Richard, what does your rule say? When do you take it off? Oh, it's tonight, Falco? What's the short float? So, guys, if you guys are curious what short float is, I also do have – I think this was the first video I ever did with RLT was on short float. You guys see this 30% short float? Basically what that represents is how many people are betting – hold on 1 second, guys. Betting that this thing will go to the downside. And so what that means is – let's say iRobot gaps up and starts moving in a very bullish direction tomorrow after earnings. These people are trapped. There's not a lot of reward relative to what the reward you can get when things move up. So not only will the shorts be trapped, and guess what they have to do? Buy to close. So they're buying, pushing the stop up. You have new buyers. So what I like to do is if you get a good gap up in a name that has a high short float, I absolutely love to look for a long entry on a name like that. And I will buy breakouts on those, no question. Because those act pretty much like stocks that are going down. Let's hop over to Zion. Let's talk about how we would have managed this, folks, since we were hypothetically talking about this trade. So 1, 2, there's a decent chance I may have been looking to take some, this position off here or a fifth or something because, and the reason is see how close this got to target 2 and my stop's all the way up here? That's not the risk to reward that I want to maintain through a trade. So let me show you guys that. What I mean by that is when it was trading right here, let's just treat that as an entry. this is my risk to reward now. Why would I want to do that? It's in the wrong way. The risk is 5, the reward is 1 now. So what I would like to do is take a partial here, or I need to move my stop down to equal out that risk to reward at that point. So I may have taken a partial there and just gone ahead and move my stop down. So let me show you guys how I do it on the mic. And you guys will get to see this Friday morning. And if you subscribe, you'll get to see lots and lots of this. So I'll just move my stop down, old stop, boom, there we go. So the least amount I make is probably about a half an hour now. And I probably would have taken some off there. But now this 10 EMA needs to catch up, so time resistance needs to catch up. It already broke the support price action-wise. This is just a normal retrace, folks. Just, hey, do this and see if that turns into the next pivot. So we'll see how that one plays out. That's not official, folks. I'm not in that one. Robin says, what considers a good short float? So Robin, anything over 20% for me is just like, oh yeah, let's do this. And there are some names out there that have some high short floats. AOI used to be one, 42. You know what that means? So here are the shares available, 18.75 million. That means almost 9 million people, or 9 million shares. Half of the stocks that are available to trade are short. So can you imagine what happens when, AOI gaps up 50%? What's Blue Apron? I wonder if Blue Apron has 29.3%. That's why you saw this big spike the other day, a 70% move in a name. I'm sure there's plenty of them out there. iRobot typically has one. Yeah, HIIQ. Now, guys, one thing to note, there's a reason there's a high short float. That doesn't mean just because it's a high short float, buy it. Yeah, 70% of this name is short, right? So 7 million of the 10 million available shares. It would take them if the average volume was traded every day, it would take them almost 10 days to come out of this. So you could have a huge 10-day run. So guys, there's a reason people are that short. I just want you to understand that there are a reason these things explode like they do. Tilray. You want to know why Tilray went so high? You guys remember this? That's not because people were buying to open. No one's buying this. This thing was at $89. No one's buying this thing at $300. That's people buying to close their shorts because brokerage accounts are forcing them to do it, right? So if they were shorting down here or even in here, sometimes they'll be forced out. So high short float can cause some crazy moves to the upside when they're wrong. Shorting long-term is a very difficult game. The historic capital flow of money or capital is up and to the right. So you're betting against history on all time frames. Yeah, Janet, good point. Tesla has a high short float. So I don't know if you guys know it or not, but Jeremy is the Tesla bull and called a lot of crap for it. Like back in here, oh, what happened back in there? Oh, I don't know. It's just going on like a 20% run without ever checking up. So I'm sure Jeremy can throw that video in there, and you guys should absolutely read the comments. Some people didn't understand how writing options work, but exactly. So when it has a high short float like that, I call it a crowded trade. A lot of people call it a crowded trade. And if you're short, these folks that are short, they're taking some profits along the way. So now they're buying. Once you're short a name, your next move is a buyer. So you're a potential buyer of that stock, and you can't necessarily hold shorts forever. I mean, I guess you can, but not if this thing goes to the moon. So high short float. Once you get some good fundamental news, good technicals, you get new buyers, and you have people buying to close. These things can go on some epic runs. Mark says, Blake, is that tradable shares? So, Mark, I'm assuming you're asking about short float. Yep. The float right here are your tradable shares. They're in the open market, the public market. And, guys, that's FinViz. I didn't mention that. Love this tool. You can pay for it, and it'll give you charts for, like, sales quarter over quarter. It's how I find some of my growth names that I look forward to invest in. All right, team, let's do this. I somehow caught up on the chats besides Jason P's Microsoft. You know what, Jason? Microsoft scares me because I tried to buy the bounce on Friday, and Jeremy Newsom crushed me. He said, nope, it's going the other way. Very similar to what I did to eBay on this day by So I tried to buy the Bird Box bounce on eBay. It said, nope, flushed me out. I said, cool. That shouldn't happen if earnings are truly good. So I turned around and shorted it, made more than I lost. Jeremy did the same thing on Microsoft. I tried to buy the bounce. He said, okay, cool, you do that. It was like somewhere in here. I forget where it was. He shorted it, and oh my goodness, this thing just bled out, right? Just knowing what should and shouldn't happen. Fantastic trade. So on Microsoft, 138.60. So I know I'm late to the party here, Jason. You were probably trading it here. Or you're looking for this retrace back onto the 10 EMA by 138.20. Yeah, you could get a little bit more. You could probably get something closer to 138.55. But sometimes I'm too greedy and miss some trades. If you're looking to go to the bullish side, this is holding above the 10. Only thing that scares me about this one, Jason, is the selling on earnings day for Microsoft is a little scary for me. But love the reward to risk. I always want to bet on the bullish side for Microsoft if I can. There's no question. You have a lot of people supporting you and at your back if you do that. So I think that's the right play. And here's something you can do, Jason. Hop over to the 30s. You may get that 30, or well, this is going to close pretty soon. It could work. I think something closer to like a 38.50 or 38.55 may give you a better chance for an afternoon run. Rosa says, what is a bird box? So 1 second. Guys, if you ever have a question, you absolutely should utilize. You can go to Real Life Trading and just do that, but I'm subscribed. So this is what I do a lot of times is I'll come over here and I say, what do I have a question about? Blake keeps talking about this weird bird box thing. And I know he's not talking about trading a Netflix film. So you can just type in bird box and these things will come up. So what I'll do for you is, let me just do it this way. I know Jeremy posted it earlier, but I'll just go ahead and throw it in again. There's the bird box video. So Rosa, and I'll explain, it's explained in the video. It's just a retracement. That's all it is. Using a fib level, trying to give, an opportunity to step in front of a trade rather than waiting on the break of a candle. Richard, thank you. Richard says, sorry guys, it says 3R on LK, but it's really 2.1R so far. Way to be honest, my friend. Edna says, where do you find short float? So there's a couple sources. Edna, I use Finviz, so spelled Finviz. And if you type in your ticker there and you come down here to short float, it'll give you a percentage. So, one way you can calculate that is you go, these are the shares that are in the float, this tradable, 70% of that is short. So if HIIQ gets going, so let's say hypothetically HIIQ gaps up here, some people are going to go, oh my goodness, that's a huge gap. But you know what I'm going to say, like 60%, I'm going to go, it is a huge gap. But you know how many people are getting crushed right now since every 7 out of 10 shares are betting on the downside? Now they have to turn around and buy this. I mean, maybe not, but a lot of people go, oh, that's too high, this is going to fade off. Well, not necessarily with a high short float like that. You just have to be careful. And I think that's why Blue Apron the other day did this. When all those shorts finally started getting squeezed or took it off, it retraced. Good stuff, team. Good stuff. Alan says, Starbucks, what should we have been doing? Was there a way we should have traded that? Great question. Starbucks has just been an absolute uptrend. Oh, you're talking about for a day trade today? Yeah, it's hard, right? 1, 2. I don't know, Alan. I think this is one of those where I just miss it. I miss trades all the time. To me, this may have been the only So here, let's do this. Let me go over to the 5s because I would have been looking at it on the 5. Yep, I don't think so. Alan is just one of those where, Jeremy was talking about me being single. It's like sometimes the girl I want to date, it just doesn't work out. I saw her too late or just no opportunity. No, so it's just kind of like that same example. It's just one that we miss, right? There's not much you could have done on that one, I think. But what you can do, and I do this a lot, Alan, is now you know there was some selling here. This is the sentiment play. So you don't have to trade it this day if you don't get the reward to risk. But what you can do is you can hop over to your hourly and you can start to look for some type of retracement on day 2 or day 3. Or if you want to buy some puts in anticipation that the earnings aren't going to meet expectations, and maybe this is an early sign of that, if you get a retracement tomorrow close to 90 or something, maybe buy a put or two. I wouldn't hold it short over earnings, but that's a decent opportunity. And I do this all the time. Show me your cards. Show me that there's sellers there in the sentiment play, and then I'll try to find levels over the coming days to trade off of. So all my day trades aren't necessarily day one gaps or anything like that. Prime example, ticker symbol NUS right here. I saw this thing on earnings. I saw it gap down, let it retrace. Now I'm watching you. I think Eventbrite was one. Yep, see this? I'm watching you type thing, because I am a stalker when it comes to names. Box, same thing. Show me a candle that I can trade off of, and I can day trade these or swing trade these, right? We used the Carvana example earlier. So many ways you can trade these. Thomas says, how many questions? Thomas says, how many questions have there been in the last half hour about Bird Box? Quite a few. And Thomas, you know what? I expect that. That's why I made that video, was just because I knew there would be lots of questions, because it's very vague. We like to have fun here sometimes. We don't always just trade and make money. Sometimes we have fun. So we were like, let's just name this thing the Bird Box instead of like a Feb retracement or something like that, because it's fun. And I knew it was going to create a lot of questions, but yeah, it's fine. I don't mind answering that.
Blake, if you keep telling ladies you're a stalker, the chances of you not being single are going to keep staying there.
I know, man. I know. I am hey, when it comes to the stock market, off these things.
Oh, that's funny.
Are you is anything setting up for you?
No, man. I'm in LK for a swing trade, so I'm just hoping that if that hits the target today, they'll actually put me in the green. So that'd be really cool.
Where is your target?
23.55.
Oh, you're right in front of me. Yeah, this is when these things make a 15 to 20% move, I usually start getting pretty tight. But there's a fantastic chance that I'll hop over to the hourly and move my stop up really close today.
Yeah. I was thinking about taking a little bit of profit and then increasing some of the target, because it's if it gaps up tomorrow or something like that, that'll probably be it.
Yeah, I agree. You get the gap up. Yeah, I'm gonna get a little bit. I may trade it with you, my friend. Get close to it.
Okay.
Because I like it. It's made the
move.
move.
It could also hit 26 though.
It could.
Yeah.
Well, that's where you have to revert to your rules, right? You're like, okay, it's made this big move in 4 days or 3 or 4 days. Well, 2 days is the bulk of the move. Do I take it and wait for something else to set up based off my rules? Or do I let it consolidate and then make another move?
Gotcha. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. I think I'll exit a 10th. I'll move up my stop, and then I'll increase the target just a little bit, see what we can do.
Love it. What if we get a small gap up tomorrow in Lulu with this candle forming?
Oh, looks pretty.
Love it.
Yeah, man.
All right, I'll back off calling myself a stalker. Because I did just turn 32, so one of these days I need to find a wife. So maybe I should. I'll listen to you on that since you are engaged.
Oh, that's funny, man.
All right. Thomas says, if you're up a little late and you really like her, just ask. Love it. Richard says, Blake, so if you remember, we took LK as a day trade and lost on it last week. Absolutely, we did. After that loss, I took the trade again on another setup. So this trade is up 3.1, but only 2.1 if I include the 1 hour loss from our first stopped out trade. That's where the 3R came from. Love it. Richard, fantastic analysis. And a lot of times, so Jeremy today, someone said, hey, Jeremy, you broke your rule. You took a trade twice. Jeremy said, no. Only if I win on it. If I lose on it, I'll take it again. And sometimes, especially if you're trading the open, you're going to be wrong because there's way more volatility. But sometimes after you take that first trade, you understand the sentiment of the trade. And guys, the market doesn't care whether you lost or won on the first trade. It's still going to do its thing. We're not big enough to move markets. So if you're objective about it and it's not in your rules to not take it again, take the trade, because more than likely you understand the read. There was a reason you were watching it anyways. But the hardest thing for some traders is to be objective. Like, oh, I'm taking it because I'm revenge trading it versus, hey, I'm taking it because the setup's there. So just make sure you're being really honest with yourself when you take those trades. Again, Richard, awesome stuff, my friend. I absolutely love it. I did the same thing. I actually put on size for a day trade and a swing. So, yep, absolutely. And I did the same thing with NVIDIA today. I call these hybrid trades, folks. So I lost, $57 on this day trade, but I'm still in this for a swing trade. So, and that's a little bit tricky. That's a little bit different style. You guys don't, if you're newer, if you've traded less than 2 years, don't do that, because what I've found with newer traders is they tend to hold the entire trade because they're like, oh, it was that piece was a day trade, but now I'll just turn it all into a swing trade. Insanely dangerous. So make sure if you do what I call a hybrid, that you really do treat a piece of that as a day trade, and the other piece is the swing trade. Yeah, Jeremy's throwing some out. Love it. So Richard, on those trades, I would treat those differently. So I know you have 2.1 on it total. What I do typically is say, hey, I lost on the day trade. I'm winning on the swing trade. And what that does, Richard, is when I go back and check my statistics for the month, it tells me where I traded, I swing traded better this month. Here was the setup. So I can kind of conduct my statistics a little bit better. But if you're doing like I do with a hybrid trade, totally get that. Stalking stocks. That's right. Richard says, I'm a stalker. Yeah. For all my stalker friends. Thomas says, peeled some off of LK right before high day. Nice. Good job, Thomas. Thomas, it's awesome having you here all day. So, folks, Thomas, one of our members who's been here for quite some time, quit his day job this week. Huge congrats to him.
Huge congrats.
Isn't that awesome?
Taking the leap.
I love it. Richard says, stalking LTHM. This is a battery company, right? Newer IPO, Livent Corporation. I remember this, Richard, because I was stalking it way back in the day. Be careful. If this is fine now. If this gets under $5, understand that really changes the dynamic of this stock in terms of who can buy it, who will buy it, market makers, all that stuff. But I agree. I see what you're looking for. Hey, this thing's been crushed. Maybe it puts in a bottom. I haven't looked at the fundamentals. But more than likely, Richard, because you are stalking it, you know way more about it than I do. But I think there's a great consolidation here that, here's what you want to see, Richard. If this thing does break out of this consolidation, it needs to hold. You want an example of what happens when it doesn't hold? Right here. Boom, break, see you later. You guys know that I am in Yext. Here's a fantastic example. This breakout should have held. When it doesn't, you have to go, watch out. That is not a good sign. AOI, this is one of the first ones I realized, time not to hold the ones that can't hold a breakout. Boom, right there. So, Richard, if that thing breaks out and holds on that base, I think you should be good to go. John Axe says, I asked Jeremy earlier about trading view instructions, and he went to see 4 videos from real life trading, but unable to find how to mark things at like bearish limit entry. Great question, if I can speak. So let's hop over to ticker symbol ZION, the one we are basically paper trading at this point because it's not live. Yeah, so folks, I would have let's just do it. Let's act like this is a real trade. Boom, stop. No matter what now, I'm making about an R on it. You guys see that? It's about 1-to-1 from where I had my stop, maybe 0.9, something like that. Actually, more than that because we took some off down here. Yeah, so somewhere a little over an R just from trailing this thing. We didn't even look at it. We've been talking about other things. And, if your R is $200, you just make $200. That's 50 grand a year. You do that every day. All right, so to answer your question, John. So when you click on the line like that, so I do a horizontal array. So let's just put it here. And what I do is you can double click on it, or it brings up this little toolbar down here, and you can choose from here. But you just create all these templates. So you come in here, and I have, let's just say, let's just do long entry, all right? And then it'll change it to the template. And so how you create a template is you can type your text in here. So let's do John X. So you can do that. You can change the coordinates where you want it. And then you can change the lines, colors, all that good stuff, where the alignment is. You can change what font you want. And then what you do is you go to this template here, hit save as, and give it a name. So like John X is the man. And I could hit save, and that would be my template. Boom. Okay. So John X. So now if I want to go to that template, I would just go here, and John X is the man. And if you want to delete it, just click on that. Not that I actually wanted to delete it, but hope that helps. But guys, these are fantastic, because when you take a screenshot on TradingView, post it in your spreadsheet or whatever you use, I highly encourage doing this where you can see how I trade. This is my initial stop. You can see where I moved stops. Put some notes on here where you take profits. So like take 1/3. You can go back and you can really see how you traded these things visually instead of looking back in your broker at your orders. Richard says, Alan, LK is a pride stock for China to compete with Starbucks. Got it. Good stuff. Was it different, Thomas? Sorry. Jeremy says, congrats, Thomas Wong. Speaking of Stalker, have you smelled my new cologne? It's chloroform. That reminds me of the movie Billy Madison. Chlorophyll? You're up there talking about God knows what. All right, team. So I'm going to do a quick scan. Yeah, no problem, John. Oh, lithium mining, not chasing it there. Haven't looked at the short lately. Oh, yeah. That's the thing, Richard. If that thing gets going, whew, watch out. John says, I checked there, and there's no icon for horizontal line on the left sidebar. You may have to add it. Let's see if I can do it this way. I haven't really looked at these recently. Huh, do you have, yeah, you may have to, so do this. You see this line right here? Click on this, and you have horizontal array or horizontal line. I wish horizontal array had a hotkey, but I don't like the line to go all the way across my charts, because I like to put them where I made the decision to move my stop or whatever. So I don't want it extending all the way. But like, say if I did like a horizontal array, I could use a hotkey. But click on this little arrow, and you can do horizontal array if you want to put the lines where you entered the trade, where you made the decision to move your stop, all that good stuff. Yep, no problem. All right, team, let's do what we do, and let's scan through the ones that I have on my list. I can show you guys how I scan through FinViz, all that good stuff. So we're hypothetically in ticker symbol ZION, not official, and you guys know we plan everything out in advance. So all the statistics you see, know that we plan that out in advance. It's not something that we said, oh, by the way, we were short this thing. Boom, let's throw it on the stat sheet. Not how we operate. So I couldn't technically, although I could have marketed in this, what Falco likes to call Leroy Jenkins. I could have just marketed in that, but that's not the way we do things around here, because we team trade. We all want to make money. John says, just went short Beyond Meat. Please comment. Yep, absolutely. So here was the retrace. Maybe we moved our stop down a little early, but hey, if you're a retracement trader, how much did that retrace? Well, hold on, drew it on the wrong side. So if you guys are fib traders, you can really eye these things. Almost 50%, right? So here was the push down. You're using this range. Okay, cool. I didn't get this short. Let's wait on some retracement, and it almost went 50%, and then the rollover. I don't hate it. And the reason I don't hate it is I'm pretty sure the same thing Jeremy was looking at is it broke these highs right here. So yesterday, I didn't want to fade this because it didn't break the highs. I was looking for something like this, breakthrough. Let me see if we got any volume indication in that spike up. Yep. Close. I would have rather the volume come in here than the candle before, but it still traded below that pretty much immediately afterwards. So yeah, I would have preferred to get a retracement, but this could absolutely work. I mean, Beyond Meat could get down to 185 today. Took some of BYND. That would just be, I mean, if you think about it, if this thing gets down to like 186, I don't think that's super, super bearish. That's just a 50% retracement into yesterday's breakout. So you don't have to be bearish on Beyond Meat long term to understand a decent reward risk day trade on it. So John, yeah, I don't hate it. Where's your stop? Do you have a stop at 201.05 or 199.05? I personally probably have one right here around 199.40, because you don't want to. Theoretically, if it gets back above that, it's not as weak as we thought it would be. I like it, John. Rose says likelihood of SPY moving up. I will say, very likely, absolutely likely. And the reason is, Rosa, me and Jeremy were really bullish on the markets. I mean, I guess it was way back here. We're for sure going through 300. Reason is, the first time that we had like 7% of the market hedged to the short side. And usually when you're betting against the market and you have that many people hedged, it usually goes in the opposite direction, because they're already prepared for the worst. Guess what? Shorts have to cover. Guess what? Hedge funds are underfunded. So, it wouldn't surprise me to see the SPY make a move, really up here, honestly. 310. So what that means intraday for your question, Rosa, is I think it's very likely. Put it this way, I'm not completely emptying my long-term accounts, my long-term longs, because I think we still have a nice push left in the markets. And what that means intraday is I think all these dips are going to get bought up for the most part. You guys saw it this morning. Here was the fade, and then boom, it just turned around and got bought right up. And we usually don't see buying that fast. Usually buying's pretty slow, the selling's fast, and the buying was just as fast. So, yep, I think we just keep getting balled up. Wow, that was really southern. Guys, I am from Alabama, so I apologize if that was super, super southern. Or if you like that kind of thing, no apologies. Edna says, you guys have me rolling with your stalking. I sold all my Cron and Redfin today for a profit. I need to go do some regular work. See you guys tomorrow. See you, Edna. Yeah, if you stick around long enough, you'll know everything pretty much about us. Good, bad, ugly, all that good stuff. Rhett says, what parts of Alabama? So, Rhett, I grew up in tiny, tiny town called Odenville, Alabama, right around Moody, Leeds area, about 30 minutes outside of Birmingham. But I went to UAB. So, yeah. How about you, Rhett? Are you in Alabama? Sylvia says, Blake's default statement is all that good stuff. My other default statements, Sylvia, is and such. So I used to be like, hey, let's do this and such, or it's that and such. Brett says, Auburn, got it. Got it. So I'm assuming you're a War Eagle person. Man, I was cheering for you guys in basketball this year. I really was. Yep, nice. I am a Bama boy, so it is a roll tide. But don't worry, I'm not your typical one. I don't care that much. I used to. I don't care that much anymore. Richard says, boy, I really like what you said about the hedge funds. Yeah, I mean, you just have to know where the big money is, right? They move the market. If you're a hedge fund, you got to report to your investors, and you don't want to show them that you're underfunded in a market that's been up 10% that quarter or whatever it may be. So it creates this they start acting a little bit emotionally. And, people pull money from hedge funds when the S&P 500's outperforming them. So they start chasing these things up. This is why you get this crazy volatility. Weird things start happening. Alice says, PayPal. Saban is the best. Yeah, I don't say that just because we have him. He really is something special. PayPal. Wow, what a move. Shake, 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 boom. Here's another thing to note, guys. So we talked about volatility a little bit. So you can look at the VIX, the VIX. basically just measures. It's a measurement off the Chicago Board of Options Exchange, CBOE, just on basically options. So like if people use options to hedge their, when they own shares, right? If you day trade, sometimes you can use the UVXY, which is about 2 times leverage, sometimes 3. I think it just depends. But when volatility is this low, usually means the markets are going up. Our swing trades crush it. It makes for a little bit more difficult day trading. So, if you guys look at our sheets, the months where we have great day trading months, the swing trades are okay. They're meh. And just the opposite. So like swing trades are probably going to be crushing it this month, and day trades will probably be small, flat, whichever. It's typical for summer trading anyways, but just something to note. Jay says, I missed to talk about hedge funds. Where can I find a recording of this session in the future? Jason, I'm sure Jeremy will be posting it. And yep, this is being recorded. So I hope I didn't say anything too dumb. But no. So yeah, just understanding where, and there's some measurements out there that'll tell you, just like we were looking at short float on individual names, there's some out there that'll tell you just basically market sentiment, how the overall markets are hedged. And always, if you guys get the chance just to understand markets, and you guys are as nerdy as I am, always just do some reading on, what happens when hedge funds are underfunded or are underexposed to markets that are going up, and just understanding what the big money does, all that good stuff. It's kind of like I said with NEO. I was like, no one's going to buy this into the quarter, because if you buy this and you have to report to your investors that you've been in a name that's down like 80%, that's not a good thing. But some investors may come in here and buy this right after the end of this quarter to give it a shot, because now they have 3 months of holding this to see if this will go up, or there's some opportunity for this to move up. So just understanding sometimes when the end of quarters are, what happens, tax loss harvesting, all that stuff sometimes can help you build cases of why things may be doing something or something along those lines. Cool. So it looks like if we were in this ZIOM, we would have been trailed out there for, I don't know, somewhere around an R. So nice, easy trade. We looked at it maybe 4 or 5 times while we were talking about how much of a stalker I was. Beyond Meat, nice trade. Way to keep an eye on that one. And Baba just boom. Would have a bird box worked on Baba if we could have been patient? Ooh, I think it would have stopped us out. But here's what would have happened. So if I would have traded a bird box on Baba, let me show you guys how I would have traded that. Boom, long here. So I'd have been triggered in there. I would have had a stop, let's just say somewhere in there. This bounce right here, 1-to-1, I would have taken some off. Let's just say a third. Let's just play it conservative and say a quarter. Now I would have moved my stop up to right here. So it would have been more than likely like a small loss, like 0.3R, somewhere along those lines. And I gave this thing a chance to bounce. Now I did take later on in the day, but again, I'm not worried about one individual trade. I'm worried about, did this work over 50 trades? Jason, let's see what Twitter's doing. Nice job, my friend. Nice job. Now this could actually turn out to be a decent, well, you have earnings coming up. China trade news. What's LK doing? Quick pullback. Interesting. Nice job, Jason. Did you I ended up actually not getting filled on Twitter by a penny. Yeah. So Jason, that's the one thing, man, on these options. Sometimes you have to, because they don't correlate 1-to-1. Sometimes you just have to mark it in there. And right, that'll work for your favor in liquid option names too. Because if it sells off and hits like a stop level, sometimes I've noticed that it isn't a full stop. If you're trading using the charts. Glenn says SPY is ripping. Oh yeah. Oh yeah. It's hard to bet. It's so hard to bet against the S&P. Jason says Roku double bottom. So guys, for the most part, so here's one thing to note, folks. The other thing I love looking at is relative strength and weakness. So the markets are exploding. Roku's been in this really good growth name. Roku's not. So this would concern me if I'm in Roku now, and this isn't a so-called cordial pullback, but the markets are ripping. Roku's hanging out at lows of the day. I would be cautious. Shopify. So where's let me look at the Dow. So the Dow's ripping. Let me look at the Qs. So guys, what I'm trying to do right now is see which sectors are the strongest. So Dow is at highs. The S&P's at highs. What about the Russell? So these are some of the smaller. So really, it looks like the Dow's leading the way. So I wonder what Caterpillar, Boeing, some of these names are doing. Huh, interesting. Apple. Anyone catch Apple today? It's not doing that much, actually. Hey, RLK did something today. What's ticker symbol STNE doing? This little hammer candle off the 10. I'll probably manage this one accordingly. Cool. All right, guys, let me do this. Let's go ahead and scan through this and see what is. So if anyone has questions on how we would have or how we did hypothetically manage ticker symbol ZION, let me know. Beyond Meat, oh my goodness, congrats on that trade. Let this thing work for you. Obviously take some profits into support levels and moves, but understand the big trend on this and that this broke a high of the day, or sorry, all-time highs and could not hold that. So, you know, I know we have some folks in this trade, but understand what this looks like. There's your hourly. You know, this could absolutely retrace. We talked about it down at this 185, 186, 187. Now, when I say that, that's the max move. Take some risk off the table and or move your stop down along the way. But give this a chance to make that big move. You took the risk of shorting a stock at all-time highs. So, you know, people are buying. Lots of people are trapped. Take advantage of that. Thomas says, don't you get crushed on by commissions when you end up selling small portions of several lots? My broker charges per trade. Thomas, great question. The answer to that is it's relative. If I have 1,000 shares of, and this is true, I did have 1,000 shares of this name from down here. My average price is in the 27s. So, you know, it had moved to 34. How much am I worried about commissions when this thing just made me $8,000? So, right, so it's relative, and that's why you have to, you know, your trading account, stuff like that does matter. Commissions do matter. But if you have a smaller account, it's okay to, you know, trade in halves or thirds or fourths. You don't have to trade in fifths and stuff like that. And let that account grow. And then commissions won't matter as much. We call it the expense ratio in like hedge funds world, right? It's like, hey, if you have a $200,000 fund, your expense ratio may be way higher than if you have a $5 million fund. Those are tiny examples, but it's the same way if you have a smaller account, the commissions are going to mean more to you than if you have a larger account. So yeah, absolutely trade in halves and stuff, and you can slowly build that account up to where commissions don't matter as much. But the answer to that is absolutely. It does. And you just have to tailor, and you know, Jeremy and I help people with that all the time. You just tailor around that a bit. Great question. Jason says, me and Lewis are trading together, and he took that one and had a 10-cent spread over there in the UK, came down to 35.16. Lewis always, and I also took Microsoft. Nice. BABA. I know, what an explosion on BABA. Guys, you remember when we were trying to day trade BABA? When was it? Was it this day? Let's say Tuesday. Yeah, Friday. This gapped up right here. And what was it? The 175s or the 175.20s? There was so much selling. Something around there. That's why I wanted to be long BABA today, because we were finally above that. That tells me that seller probably lifted. I guess it was this day. Yeah, this 175.15, 175s. There was so much selling right there. And we're finally above that. Yes, I know. I'm a stalker. All right, last time, guys. I'll say I'm a stalker because I do need a wife at some point, I think. That's what the world tells me anyways. UNH. Whew, nice bounce. The daily looks good. Richard, are you still in this one? Or did you catch some of this off the 200? Here's the thing, right? You didn't have to catch any of this. And then, you know, this is tradable even tomorrow if we get a small gap up because, hey, nice support. Or I would love this if this consolidated for a day or two, and then we got a gap above this area right here. This could absolutely trade up there. Nope, not in. Hey, Richard, great job on patience, my friend. You'll have so many opportunities to enter this. And if you don't, if this thing just runs, that's fine too, because more than likely you'll get some consolidation up here. And that already, if it runs like that, it tells you, hey, it's strong. So now you have one more piece of criteria in your back pocket. Jason says, do I think Microsoft pushes higher? The problem is, relative to SPY, this seems weak. This day on earnings does concern me for, a little bit. Microsoft's had this incredible run. Maybe some people are just backing off. It is the largest name in the stock market. So you have to think you have plenty of people supporting you. Jason, here's the thing. My initial answer is yes, it's Microsoft. But it scares me when the S&P breaks out like this and Microsoft is still hanging out here down in this mid-range. That usually tells me, hey, when the S&P pulls back, Microsoft's going to be one of the first ones to sell off. So I want to say yes, but relatively speaking, I'm not so sold on it. 1R is 139.10. Okay, Jason, this is what you have to do. If 1R is 139.10 and you're not sure here, or this 15 is about to close with tweezers, where's your stop? You still want your stop to be somewhere around 1-to-1 at this point. So your stop, if it's lower than basically below this wick, you either need to take a half off or maybe go ahead and take it all. Just depends on what your plan is. All right. So we looked at Microsoft. We looked at BABA. There's Beyond Me. We expect this. That's a pivot now. It should kind of come up here and roll a little bit. We looked at BABA. So guys, I'm just scanning. Here's ticker symbol SQ. I have earnings coming up, so I'm not going to add too much. But I was looking for an add spot down here today. Obviously, I'll either move this down or try a breakout, depending on how this candle closes today. HK delisted. What is HK? This Hong Kong? HK. Christian, what is HK? Was I right? This Hong Kong? Man, look at that. HK. Halcon Resources. Halcon. Oh. OTC. Robert says, no, HK is trash energy company. Falco, I love how you know all these companies. HK delisted. Guess it's HKRS. Who knows? All right, so we looked at SQ. Nice little push on PayPal. Guys, one thing that's very detrimental to traders too that I see a lot is, so we lost on PayPal early this morning, right? And then it bounced. And then what I'll see is people start chasing it because they're like, oh, I was right. I want to be right on this. And instead of just saying, hey, I lost. My timing was wrong. There'll be plenty of times where your timing's wrong in the right direction. Your timing it'll work out in your favor where you didn't expect something. And that's just another example on PayPal. Just let it go. You can watch it. Tomorrow, if we get another little small gap up, PayPal's going to highs. I love this sector. PayPal, SQ, ticker symbol PAGS, STNE. I just love all those. Coke would have moved today. Whew. Don't worry, Jeremy. I'm not going to fade it. If it would have made its way into 54.50 and spiked down, maybe. All right, Lockheed Martin, ticker symbol LMT. Some of these defense names have been on fire. But again, hey, this is the read on the open to me. Showed bearish sentiment, retrace here. Not much I'm going to do with that one today. But guys, it did have earnings. So let's see what happens on a Lockheed Martin over the next couple of days. UTX. Look at that volatility. Wow. Christian says, HQ, Halcon Resources. Oh, I got it. Emerald Long says, thanks, Blake, for everything. I'll see you guys tomorrow. See you tomorrow. Jason, did that make sense on Microsoft, just talking about relative strength? And now it's pushing. Q's pushing. Woo! Look at this candle that's going to shape up in the markets. Oh, man. Oh my goodness. If the Qs close up here, look at the Russell. Good job, guys. Good job on Microsoft. So here are the 5s. So you could have put, stop there, 3880-ish. Yep. Good stuff, my friend. Congrats on that one. I think that one hit your 10-cent level. I think it was 10 cent. Yep, 139.10. Congrats, my friend, if you're taking all off at that level. Still holding. Gotcha. It is Microsoft. Rosa says, how would you play the SPY now? I'm not sure that I would. So, Rosa, I feel good about it because I do have I have NVIDIA on as a long. I have STNE, which doesn't necessarily trade with the S&P 500. I have a little bit of SQ. I have Lulu, which is getting close to our target. We're already out. Yeah, Lulu should hit our target, especially if this thing closes like this today. So I'm okay on the long side. I don't want to chase. Sorry, my other computer went to sleep. I don't necessarily want to chase, the S&P at these levels, but also I don't want to short it. So this is the hard part. I was just having this conversation with Thomas because he's a full-time trader now. He did the hard work where he was trading and working, and I was like, sometimes the hardest thing to do is just sit back and you go, oh, I either missed this move, or there's just no play here. And I think this is one of those times on the S&P 500. Cool. All right, team. Sorry I didn't officially get to put one on while I was with you guys, but I learned a lot from you guys. I hope I answered some fantastic questions. I'll be back Friday morning. I'm here anyways. So I was here this morning and yesterday. So it's not like I just disappear. I just let the legendary Jeremy Newsom drive the show. You guys will also get to see Brad Reed. So fantastic team here. Guys, thanks for everyone's questions. Jeremy, if you're still here, are you going all day or are you waiting for the afternoon room now? Albert says, thanks, Blake, as usual. Anytime. That was fun. Thanks. Absolutely. Rich says, here's a sad story. I got UNH at 208.09 on 417 with a tight stop. 208.09. You made the bottom. Yep, up 2 cents. I got an 8.2 R on the day trade. Thought about turning it into a swing, but I got scared. I've been watching it with a Blake stare since April. So here's the thing, Richard, on that. If you didn't have the plan to swing trade it going into it, you did the right thing. So here's what happens is you'll never forget this one, but you'll forget the ones that you did that and you held on and they turn around and just crushed you. And that's kind of this trader's fallacy sometimes where you have to be careful because this one's just embedded in your brain now. And so if you're not careful, it'll cause you to make a bad decision sometime down the road. But if you had the idea to hold this one for a swing trade going into it, totally okay to do that. But just be careful with that because I've been guilty of it at least 500 times. Yeah, exactly. Confirmation bias, right? It's like if you buy a new F-150, all of a sudden you're like, man, everyone drives an F-150. No, everyone's always driven them. These things, this has bounced like this 100 times. It's just now that your eyes are on it, you have this bias and you notice things a lot more. So, yep, good stuff. Absolutely, team. All right, I think Jeremy may have taken a break. So this is the time where we usually go off mic, so I'm going to stay with that and make sure this recording's good. And then for you folks in the afternoon, the swing trading room, I would absolutely encourage, if you guys didn't already have plans to do that, to pop in there, especially with this nice push on the S&P going forward. I know you guys were looking at some bullish plays yesterday. LK played out nicely. Lulu was another nice one that we had. Even the ones that we won small on, like HUYA, we bought this dip, managed it nicely, made a half an hour on it. So what I'm saying with all that is the markets are shaping up for a nice little run here. It sounds like we got new China news. So you'll want to tune in to Jeremy doing the afternoon room with swing trades, longer term stuff, credit spreads, all that good stuff. See what you guys know how to manage trades you're in or initiate some new ones. I heard about that, Jay Leonard, the electric F-150s. OJ says, Blake, before you go, real quick, Baba, absolutely. There's a candle, right? You have to expect this. This is why you want to take some profits along the way. That way, right now, you're not going, oh, man, I have so much regret. You want to sell into strengths on day trades. I'd be looking to buy somewhere around this 176.40 if you missed this. This is the good thing about patience. Don't chase these. They usually come back to you. The daily looks fantastic. I don't know what the China news is yet, but let me hop over to a weekly. Not bad. Let me hop over to an hourly. Not bad. Yeah, I think price action's telling you to do so. Would you buy before the breakout? OJ, I would. In fact, absolutely. I would buy into. So this was your breakout. I would buy somewhere around this 176.45 level and see if this thing support. You may have to wait, 15, 30 minutes and then see if this thing can push higher for a day trade. For a swing trade, let me see. In 2 days, 4%. Yeah, I think you could still do it for a swing trade if you get a pullback into this area today. Yep. Robert says, China news, U.S. and China teams are sitting down to the table on Monday. Cool. I feel like I've heard that a million times. We'll see. All right, team. Yeah. Oh, OJ, one thing I was going to say is on names like Baba and stuff like that. So we looked at this Carvana example. This is a high growth name, high short float. This is one that's going to break out and trend like this and make some insane moves. For some of these names like Baba, some of these higher cap names, they will retrace for you. And you know what? If they don't worry about it. It just wasn't meant to be. Cool thing about the stock market, there's always another trade. So yeah, let this one pull back into this 176, 40s or 30s, somewhere in that range, and see if you can scoop some up. That way, when this thing starts to round, if you don't want to lose much on it, you can pretty much pull your stop up almost to your entry, and you'll probably have like a 10-to-1, 5-to-1 reward to risk. All right, team, I really enjoyed it. Guys, thanks everyone for being here. I've been in a lot of trading rooms, stuff like that. I do consider this an extremely premium room, not only because we day trade, but it's because we tell you guys what we're doing beforehand. So we're not just like, oh, this happened. But also it's so diverse and the community is so great. Everyone helps everyone. So some people are really good spread traders. Some people are good day traders. Some people trade oil and gas. And everyone helps each other. So, guys, I hope you're enjoying it. Fantastic group. Love all the questions. Thanks for all that. Thanks for opening my eyes to some opportunities out there. And I will see everyone Friday morning. Rich says, thanks, Blake. Love trading with you. Love trading with you as well. Guys, until Friday morning, everyone have a fantastic week, and I'll see everyone then.